morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors. The Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And The Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning or afternoon, depending where you are. And hello, kids, and welcome to Season 4 and episode number 618 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show, or Daily Beaver Afternoon Show. No, well, not so Daily Beaver Afternoon Show. Here. But still 100% Canadian. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver. Pronouns he, hey. Oh boy, I'm having trouble today. He, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, eh? And here's my good friend, Mr. Grizzly, with me as always, doing double duty. Today, recording day is still Friday, April 4th. 2025. We had just so much content for you, and we wanted to make sure that you could go into the weekend with competing impressions of the two main leaders of the two main parties after the Trump tariff, because we didn't want the news to go stale, and we have a feeling that there might be a lot of news on the weekend, so wanted to get it out now. So thank you for joining us yet again. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsor, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Mr. Grizzly, how is your mental health today, sir?
A-okay. Despite some technical glitches earlier, we're going to pretend like nothing happened and just pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and
start all over again.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, a restream issue that we were having. It was literally nothing to do with you or my computer. It was literally a restream because when I logged back in, I was in focus. I wasn't fuzzy. The only thing that if we record and restream, we can record in 1080p. When we stream live, it only lets us go to 720p. And because this is a live show, it doesn't give us 1080 anymore. There's times when it will and times where it won't. And right now it won't, which is frustrating because if you're watching on a big TV, it's not as high definition as it should be. And if we record in because you can record stuff on YouTube directly, right? That we could do in 4K if we wanted to.
Oh,
well, your camera's not 4K, but you know what I'm saying,
no.
Right?
Yes.
But for live stream purposes, we want to go at least 1080p. But unfortunately, with Restream, it's just not allowed. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Keep in mind, though, Restream is a company from Ukraine. So, the fact that they're still operational and have been for the last 3 years while there's a war going on, I think we can say, well done, folks.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, kids and cubs. A little bit of tidbits before we get into it. Some employment numbers came in from Statistics Canada. Employment fell by 33,000 in March, and the employment rate declined by 0.2 percentage points to 60.9%. The unemployment rate rose 0.1 percentage points to 6.7. Total hours worked rose 0.4% in March, following a decline of 1.3 in February. On a year-over-year basis, total hours worked were up 1.2%, and average hourly wages among employees were up 3.6%, up another $1.24 to 36.5 cents an hour on a year-over-year basis in March. following growth of 3.8% in February, not seasonally adjusted, so wages are still growing faster than inflation at the moment. Employment fell by 21,000 among men aged 55 years and older in March, bringing the cumulative decline for this group since the beginning of the year to 47,000, down almost 2%. So it seems that men over 55 in general are having trouble finding work.
Gee, you say that. How odd. What a strange
Yes.
statement to hear from somebody who will soon be 57.
The employment rate for men aged 55 and older fell 0.4 percentage points to 38.8 in March, the third consecutive monthly decline. In total, there were about 1.5 million unemployed people in March, up 36,000 in the month, and up 167,000 on a year-over-year basis. Among those who were unemployed in February, 14.7% became employed in March, but long-term employment has risen. The proportion of unemployed people searching for work for 27 weeks or more stood at 23.7% in March 2025, up from 18.3% in March 2024. So, right when they were saying, like, we need people, and whoa, you brought in too many people.
Okay, so
They obviously need the people. I mean, look how much.
Yeah.
It was 18.3 back then. Now it's 23.7.
They do need the people. They just don't need people my age.
It seems.
Right.
How odd.
Well, and
maybe because you're more experienced and they demand to be paid more.
That might have something to do with it, do you think?
Yeah.
And didn't
this might be the place where, having been a person at the top of the white privilege pyramid, may be a disservice. Yes, because if we spent all those years paying those people more, and now we want to cut the people we pay the most, well,
yeah,
guess who?
Yeah, it's troubling to me. I talked about it the other day on my ASMR, how I said, during the day on Monday, I took care of a number of things, and I felt like I have purpose again. Because when you don't have a job, you feel like you have no purpose. And that's why so many people who, when they leave the workforce, when they retire, if they don't have a plan for retirement, they tend to not live very long. Some by their own hand, many just die because they're listless. They feel purposeless, and think, it's going to be so great when I have all this free time. And it's like, yeah. And in 6 months, when you've got all the tiny little projects out of the way that you've been pushing off to the side for the last 30 years, once they're done and you discover there's nothing else to do, that's why you see a lot of seniors going back into the workforce.
Yep.
It's not a money thing. It's, I need purpose. I need to feel like I'm part of society. And up until, I've not been feeling that for a while. I mean, certainly we do this every morning.
Yes.
And I work, there's a lot of production side that nobody knows about. It's what was it somebody said to me the other day? Photographers, they show up for the wedding, they get paid $3,000 for 4 hours work. I'm like, no. No. You know how many hours they put into editing, cutting, pasting, fixing, improving that, and let alone how long it took them to get to be good enough to demand that kind of money, and all of the appointments they have to go back. It's like, 4 hours on the day of, but you've put 40 hours into that particular day.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's like for a wedding DJ.
Mm-hmm.
The average wedding is 40 hours work. It's a week's work of preparation time and getting things ready just to do the job for 4 or 5 hours.
Right.
So when it comes to a lot of the stuff we do on this show, it's the background stuff that nobody sees.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of time. And I have that purpose, but it doesn't exactly pay. So, you know what I mean? It's like I need something that gives me purpose in this world where I feel like I'm productive and adding to society. And it's and getting paid at the same time. It's difficult some days. And I guess I'm going through a bit of I wouldn't say midlife crisis, because I'm way beyond midlife. Midlife is like 30. Midlife is 41 now, I guess, because the average life expectancy in Canada is 82. So I'm past midlife. Never had the crisis, though. Never had the desire to go out and buy a hot rod. On the contrary, I sold my car. So,
yeah, indeed.
I guess I'm not having andropause. I don't know.
Yeah. So I thought that just that employment data in particular, would be of interest, because at some point you start asking yourself, is it me? Well, it doesn't seem it is you. It seems that there's something general going around affecting people like you.
Yes. And you're right. I don't think it has anything to do with me directly. And it has more to do with, we don't want the 55-year-old plus white male because we're going to have to actually pay them a decent wage. And again, remember, I'm going to tell you guys one more time, I earned $20,000 more in 2016 than I did in 2024.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're paying me what I'm worth or what I should be getting.
Yeah, to start with.
Well, they were earning a 62% profit off of my efforts. I saw what the company was billing, and I saw what I was getting paid and went, guys, come on, at least give me half. Nope.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, and the final little bit of data that was interesting, another 41.5% of unemployed people in March had not worked in the previous 12 months or had never worked. This proportion was up from 35.4% in March 2024. So, like we said, when we were pretty close to full employment, it was, right? Because again, right, when this was number, people who had not worked in the previous 12 months or had never worked, right? And like Mr. Grizzly often says, there's going to be a portion of the population that will never be able to work.
Period.
Right?
You have to accept that.
Well, that's the first part. And then just by virtue of the fact that, pretty much anybody under 14 or 15 doesn't, that's a big chunk of the population.
Yes.
And never has yet. Right. So you got to add those numbers in when you're factoring them. There's always, it's never going to be zero, because you're always going to have a population of children who have never worked.
See, from Jillian, I earned more in 2010 than I earn now.
Yeah.
Like it's going the wrong way, folks. I'm not the first person to say this. I won't be the last, but we need to keep beating that drum to let people know.
Oh, yeah.
And what was the thing? It was like the guy who talked about, my parents bought their house in 1980. It cost them $45,000. My dad earned, what did he say at the time? $35,000?
Mm-hmm.
He says they just sold their house for $1 million.
Yeah, I know.
And moved into a small apartment. This is in that same time frame. Housing went up by like 400%, but salaries barely even doubled.
Yep.
Corporate greed will kill us all.
Yeah. Now, speaking of corporate greed on the markets, not a great day. TSX is down over 1,000 points. The Dow is down 4% pretty much. The S&P down 4.3%. The Nasdaq another 4. The Nasdaq is not down as much as it was yesterday, but the S&P is way more than it was yesterday. And basically, throughout Europe, all the markets closed lower. I'm watching here. I'm looking at all the markets. The CAC 40 in France did the best, down 4.26%, with the FTSE MIB in Italy down 6.53%. It's just insane, the amount. Oddly enough, curiously enough, the Canadian dollar
Rally
is holding up really well, because a lot of people were saying, it's terrible. Right before the announcement of the tariffs, actually, the Canadian dollar had gone over 71 cents, and people were like worried when it was this, it was dipping under 70, going to 69 cents something, and they're going, ooh, this might not, and it went all the way up to 71 cents something, and then with the drop, like 70.3, so it didn't even go below 70. So the Canadian dollar, for some reason, is holding up, and for some reason, Bitcoin is did well, relatively speaking. They're predicting it. It's right now. It had broken 100,000 at one point, and it's under that. But there's some people saying it could go up to 170,000 by the end of the year. I'm not sure about that, but we'll see. But what's really going crazy has been gold.
Oh yes,
gold's at record highs. It just went right through the 3,000 an ounce mark. Like this broke 3,100. Had a bit of a dip today. But yeah, since about, if you look at the gold chart and you look around the end of November, which is about 6 months ago, it hit, it was that was the low, let's say, over the last 6 months for gold, and it was under 2,600.
Wow.
So gold has gone up over about, depending on the day, $400 to $500 an ounce since Inauguration Day.
That's pretty
That's a
wild.
flight to safety.
Yeah.
And, that amount, I mean, it's a heavy, very, very heavy percentage upwards. So, yeah, a lot of people, I'm looking here, the 1 year, gold has gone up 33% in 1 year alone. 34, about 33, 34.
That's a big jump.
That's a huge jump. And 17.4 in the last 6 months, up 6 in the last 30 days.
That's interesting. Hyperty. How do I say it? Is it Hyperty? 007? douBBle. I've been delivering gold every day for the past month. He's a courier.
Wow.
Yeah. So something to consider. I remember years ago, 2008, when we had the big financial crisis, a buddy of mine who was working, you know what, I'm just going to say he was working in the federal government. I'm going to leave it at that. He said to me, he says, in the future, I'm going to start to buy gold, and I'm going to buy as much of it as I possibly can because it's real, it's tangible, and people, he says, and the other thing I want to do is, he says, invest in oil. And I go, oil? Aren't we going to be moving towards green? He goes, short-term oil, long-term gold.
Yes.
I'm sure he's been buying tons of it and is just smiling.
People who bought into some natural gas at the beginning of the winter are a little happy now too.
Oh, yes.
So, natural gas has been on a weird ride for the last while, but yeah, lately did pretty good. All right, so that's the financial stuff that I wanted you to know, because there was some with all the tariffs and whatnot. There is actual other financial news going on. Very quickly, because we had to restart, so I'm just going to go through it quickly. We didn't do it this morning, but there's a little bit of polling data, not very much new. There's one company that has new data. The rolling companies are right now in the interval period, so there's nothing new today. The one that came out is an outlier showing the Conservatives +1. So that was kind of interesting. They did ask some qualitative questions, and it would seem here that based on the data, that more people, of the people that have heard of Mark Carney, he has a 7% net favorable rating. Of the people who have heard of Pierre Poilièvre, he has a negative -3. In this data, it's really interesting to note that 7% fewer of Canadians say that they've heard of Poilièvre than they've heard of Carney, especially when you consider the amount of money and time he's put into doing media and content and all that type of stuff. But it seems it was all directed to that base specifically, and not too much to a broader population. But you just, like, with the sheer amount of content that he has put out, that more than 52% of Canadians would have heard of him. And considering we're in the second week of the election, and it's just 52. So that seems to be a lot of money to not really spread the message far and wide. Of course, no, the Conservatives have more money than God, but it doesn't seem like it was spent particularly wise. Well, here's the thing. It was spent particularly wisely when you think that the strategy was, we're going to defeat Trudeau. Everybody hates Trudeau. Let's just throw hate, invective, hate, invective, blame Trudeau for everything. Let's just do that. And let's just do that to our base. Their fourth term, the Liberals won't come out. They're not motivated. Just juice that up. Red meat. And at that time, it was probably a good plan, but then things changed.
Indeed, they did.
Oops.
I just noticed a comment from Legally Ms. Juno saying ASMR voices, so I thought I'd give you a taste of my ASMR voice. If you look at that little QR code, that'll take you to my ASMR mental health chat.
Oh, Mr. Grizzly, that was smooth.
Oh, thank you. I've done this before. So yeah, I just switched up to my studio mic. I'll go back to the broadcast. This is the broadcast mic. You do hear the difference, right, between the two.
All I thought is that scene in the Addams Family movie now with Morticia. She's on the rack and they're like cranking. You've done this before.
Well, something I wanted to just, this came across my feed, and I thought I'd share it with you quickly, because this is a gentleman who we are familiar with. We've not had him on the show yet. He's been on Dean's show a few times. I follow him on the Twitter. I think you do too. Tom Music.
Oh, yes.
New addition to my lawn. That's a Liberal lawn sign. He has come out and said he is voting Liberal in this election. You got to remember, Thomas Lukaszuk, former deputy premier, cabinet minister in the Conservative government.
Yep.
He's voting Liberal. Like a lot of Conservatives I know of are just saying,
again,
no.
When we're talking about, when we're talking about actual good Conservatives.
Correct. Yeah, and there's lots of them. Okay? Not actual progressive Conservatives, not Reform Party stalwarts who call themselves conservative. Actual progressive Conservatives. Thomas is one of them. There's a lot of them across the country. I know a number of them. I'm related to some of them. Some of them are good friends. Yep. I'm not talking about them like they're this, monolith.
Right.
We're all different in our own ways, but again, these are folks who see what is happening.
There are conservatives against the Conservative Party.
They are, because they're like, what was it Charles Adler said to us? I didn't leave the Conservative Party left me.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
And that's the case. So many people have come to that realization. You've been sold a bill of goods that you thought you were getting something, and it turns out you looked inside and went, wait a minute, this is not what I ordered.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And one of the things I noticed that I've talked to a number of conservative friends of mine who said that some of the problems they have with this current party, and I was like, really? And they go, yeah, that's none of my goddamn business when it comes to women's health care. You know how they're always about anti-choice. He goes, no, that's her body, her choice. And I've heard this from 75-year-old lifelong conservative men. Again, actual progressives, though.
Mm-hmm.
These same guys are saying throwing drug addicts in jail is not going to fix the problem.
Right.
We need to help these people. Like the armories down here, open it up and put people in there. Like Army Chris told us, the remand center. It's there. It's functioning. There's nobody in it. Mm-hmm. So, Hyperdy to answer your question, Charles Adler is now a senator.
Yes.
He was appointed to the Senate.
Yeah. So back to the information here on this one. It says, according to Innovative, about 49% of respondents have made up their mind. So that, to me, seems like a high number at this stage. But then again, the contrast is sharp.
It is.
So now, interesting here with Angus Reid, also did a little qualitative stuff, and they asked a trio of questions, and they asked which leader fits each description. When asked who would be best financially for your household, 46% said Carney, while 35% said Poilièvre. 19% saying unsure. Then they asked which leader would be best to handle the relationship with Donald Trump, which 56 said Carney would be best, while 29 said Poilièvre.
Yeah, that's to be expected.
Yeah. So, but here's Canadians believe that Poilièvre is better on affordability than standing up to Trump.
Interesting.
Lastly, when asked which leader is most likely to divide Canadians, 56% again said Poilièvre would be most likely to do so, while 29 said it's the same for Carney.
I think didn't we discuss that just the other day?
Yep.
Okay.
You brought that one.
Deja vu. Okay, so we did talk about. Okay,
you brought that one. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I want to know.
You brought that one up. Yeah. So, but here again, the people who want Poilièvre to act on affordability, that's 35. There's a portion of them that admit that he is more divisive.
Oh, yes.
But they still want the affordability.
Except he's not going to give it to them. That's the thing. He won't give it to them. And the people who are convinced, he's going, I go, no, he's not. He's not. He is beholden to corporate overlords that are his puppet masters.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to help the working man out. Meanwhile, I'm going to have a dinner in a private residence that is so large it has its own postal code. And the guy who owns it, oh, yeah, he owns private health care companies in the United States of America. But I'm going to help the working man. Look, I get and I fully understand that in the political game, you have to break bread with people you don't want to even be in the same room with. I get that. I know that's how it works. You have to make compromises here to get something over there. I know that's how politics works. I'm not naive. But he sure does spend an awful lot of time.
Yeah, he does.
With the super rich.
He does. He does.
You know.
So, according to Canadian polling,
your eyebrow there, sir? It looks like you got a little fluff on one of your eyebrows.
Oh, it doesn't. Yeah, it might just be white. What couple white with a little bit.
Oh,
of
is that what it is?
Okay. Yeah,
I couldn't tell.
A little silver there.
Okay.
So polling Canada, everything the same. Liberals drop under 200 back to 199. Conservatives gain a seat. According to CBC Poll Tracker, things are pretty much stable, the same thing. According to 338, the Liberals are at their highest seat projection that it has registered at 194, but the 338 has never gotten close to 200 like the other two have yet. So that's where things are sitting right there with that. Mr. Grizzly, after the initial outline, I sent you another thing that was a little weird, but there are two clips there I would like you to, in it that are not in the thing that I not in your current outline that I wanted you to play, because there are things I stumbled upon after.
The audio clips?
Yeah, the audio clip is one. So, as you know, Pierre Poilièvre was in Kingston for a rally. A lot of you asked if I was going to go. I did not try. Turns out that the event that was supposed to be at the quote-unquote dump, really a steel yard, not the dump. We had somebody write us because there actually is a refuse. The company has two sites, and one's actually a refuse place, not wet garbage and stuff like that. But if you're like doing home renovation and you've got a whole bunch of stuff like this, and then they have their steel yard. So it was supposed to be at a steel yard. It got moved to somewhere else, apparently because there were concerns for weather. That's weather reasonable. Was cool, and there was supposed to be some rain, but it seems that there were some concerns that there would be some freezing rain again. Because if you just looked at the weather report, -2, -3, maybe a little snow.
Yeah.
Why
would you expose people to that? I mean, really.
Yes, indeed. But it seems that so it was moved from there. So it didn't ultimately happen at a dump. just so you know. So it was a little less Four Seasons landscaping, a little more. It was they went to a warehouse of some kind. But that evening he had. So we'll show you a clip from that. But there's an audio clip because he had a rally. And in the evening, and this is from the Hurley-Burr Curse of Politics.
No, the clips you sent me are the exact same clips. They're both YouTube clips. They're both the same thing.
Damn, the copy paste didn't work.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that before you set it up.
Okay, then let's start. Okay, then let's start with the Kingston clip, and I will find the other one for you while that's playing.
Just give me a second here, and I'll pull it up and put it on the screen and share it for all the world to see. The whole world's watching.
Now remember, he's not like Trump.
No. And this starts at the 41-second mark, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That was the audio one that started at 41.
Yeah, I don't have that one. I just have
okay, hold on. The timestamp for the other one I do have is 21:41.
Okay, there we go. All right. Yeah, because I don't have the audio clip.
So he's made his announcement, and this is the first question he has asked.
Okay, 1 second, and I will share that with you. Let's hear what he's got to say.
My name is Bill Hutchins with Kingstonist.com.
Hi, Bill.
How are you?
Great. How did you like our rally yesterday?
It was nice. Big crowd.
Very big. How many people do you think were there?
3,000 to 4,000.
It's pretty big. When was the last time you had that in Kingston?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
But I understand too that a lot of your supporters came out from across the region as well, not just this riding. So
that was nice of them in this rain. It was a rough night to drive in. I don't know. Did John A. Macdonald have crowds like that when he was the MP here?
He may have had a few crowds around City Hall back in the day. As a matter of fact, I was going to ask you about, one of the questions I'm going to ask you is about putting...
What is his fascination with John A. Macdonald?
Well, number one, but number two, someone seems to be a little obsessed with crowd size.
There's a size thing with this man. Well, look at my crowds. Look at how big my crowds are. Yeah, it's the same group of people. They're groupies. It's like a Grateful Dead concert, man. 70% of the people there were at the last show, too.
It's a 15% tax cut. Carbon taxes will go up 400%.
Mm-hmm.
Man's obsessed with size.
If you pull that leg, it plays Jingle Bells. All right, we'll continue here and let him answer this question.
Sir John A. statue back in Kingston, and the impact that might have on Indigenous relations and truth and reconciliation.
Oops.
But I did want to also touch on this other question here, that experts have predicted that Kingston will be kind of shielded from the impact of the severest impact of the tariff war, partly because we're a government town. Lots of government employees, including a large military base, as you know. But you talk about slashing government jobs and bureaucracy as part of your platform. So I want to know what you would say to those anxious federal workers in this and other communities across the country. Are their jobs safe in these uncertain times?
Okay, let's stop right there.
We've said our reductions in the federal bureaucracy will be done.
Didn't want to stop for me there.
Do you know what the journalist did there, or how he screwed up, right?
I wasn't paying that much attention. I was trying to pay attention to something else. Sorry.
Asked the question about the statues and how putting it back, how it might impact, or how he thought it would impact Indigenous people.
Right.
That's a tough question. Mm-hmm. But I also wanted to ask something about the economy. So guess what Pierre is going to do now?
He's just going to only answer the economy question. He won't touch the other one. Well,
Survey says?
I wasn't actually paying attention to the second question because I heard the first one. I said, "Ooh, yeah, that's good." And of course, he doesn't even address it.
Well, survey says, let's see if you're right.
All right. Let's just go back to the annoying little pipsqueak. He used to like to be called Skippy, by the way. Apparently, he doesn't.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. By attrition, we have
let's back it up a bit.
And bureaucracy as part of your platform. The severest impact of the tariff war, partly because we're a government town. Lots of government employees, including a large military base, as you know. But you talk about slashing government jobs and bureaucracy as part of your platform. So I want to know what you would say to those anxious federal workers in this and other communities across the country. Are their jobs safe in these uncertain times?
Yes, we've said our reductions in the federal bureaucracy will be done by attrition. We have 17,000 public servants who voluntarily leave every single year, many to retire, many to accept other job opportunities, and that allows us to reduce the cost of the bureaucracy without giving out mass pink slips. I would also add that we're going to expand our military, which will be great for Kingston because of the wonderful military footprint we have here. I think we also know that there are a lot of entrepreneurs, small businesses, manufacturing businesses like this one here, Can Coil, who will benefit from my Canada First economic plan to bring home jobs.
Yeah.
We're going to cut income tax so that workers pay.
You can stop that there.
I don't need to hear any more of this.
Now, he now the thing is that people notice that he has not answered that. So if you can go to 2502, is where a journalist said, yeah, but about the statue. Now, again, journalist, the question is not about the damn statue. It's about Indigenous people.
Yeah.
And their relationship to the statue. So again, by not being precise with the question, watch what he does.
Change. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
The statue. I mean, I believe we should put the John A. Macdonald statue back up. I mean, you agree with that? What do you think? Look, It was John A. Macdonald who first had the vision of resisting American annexation. His entire life was dedicated to a great East-West nation. That's why he put together Confederation and why he built the railroad. An East-West railroad was designed to bind.
I'm posing a legitimate question here. This is a beer. It's after 12. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm working, well, podcasting. Has he been drinking? I'm posing a legitimate question here. He slurred his words a few times. He's stumbling about. I don't care if he has. I'm just curious because I believe he has a substance abuse problem. I'm not making light of this. I'm not making fun of this, and fully acknowledging that I'm having a beer while I'm making this comment. Because the other day he had a glass of water and he says, "I wish it was stronger." At a morning presser.
Yep.
And you know I despise him with the white hot intensity of 1,000 suns.
Yep.
But he is a father and he is a human being. And if he needs help, I hope that he gets it. And I sincerely mean that. Because if he needs help and he gets the help, it could change him and make him a better person. Just saying. I'm just saying. I honestly think he's had a nip or two.
Mm-hmm.
John A. Macdonald did all the time. And again, I want you to understand, I'm not making fun of him. I'm not belittling him. I'm not trying to paint him in a negative light. If he has a problem, I hope he gets the help he desperately needs. And I believe he does. I believe he has a problem. Human to human. Get the help you need. And he's a father. He has 2 children.
Right.
That's my concern. Right.
Us together with iron and steel. And that's exactly what we need to do now. We need east-west pipelines, roadways, transmission lines, and other resources that will link our nation from east to west and reverse the hopeless reliance the Liberals have made us face with the Americans. You know, President Trump wants to keep our economy weak by supporting Mark Carney and keeping the Liberals in power for a 4th term.
Stop there. Nowhere in all of that was the word indigenous.
No, not once. No. The only time
they just do not exist.
The only time he uses that is when he says they need to learn a better work ethic.
Or when he stumbles upon indigenous people that do support an oil and gas project. They say, well, let them have the choice to choose what we like.
They can't be blockading that train in Belleville. You brought coffee and donuts to people who disrupted the lives of 150,000 people for 3 frickin' weeks.
Yeah. So, right, joking about crowd size, not acknowledging that indigenous people are even a thing.
Yeah.
And then getting people to cheer for John A. On top of that, to add insult to injury right there. Because indigenous people watching that will sure love to see that moment.
Yes, eh?
So, yeah, Kingston didn't go well, and apparently as well, the audio clip that I had, but I cannot find right now, has apparently there were people who fainted at the Poilièvre rally because there were so many people. It was so hot, and there were women that were asking if you could open the doors. And so I don't know if just again.
Well, if he sees a woman fainting, he's like, "Oh, they love me that much, don't they?" Maybe
no, I believe the universal sign for that is panties on the stage.
Yeah, he.
I believe I've never seen it at a political rally now.
Bras or panties on the stage. Yeah. He wouldn't know to put them on the podium or tie them to the microphone like a classy gentleman would.
But no, apparently. But apparently, it would seem that at the Kingston rally, the person that was making the comment, there were issues with the, I believe, media, where they were trying to control the media. Like media, you go all over here while people are walking in. And it's like, well, why can't we get pictures of people walking in? No, you don't. You do. You don't. You go over here. You go over there. Some potential, perhaps pushing and shoving media by conservative staff, making sure that the media was in the pen and keeping them occupied, or basically babysitting them by making sure they don't talk to anybody else other than the party people that are there, keeping them pushed aside. Yeah. And then, of course, it's getting too hot, people fainting, and then all the resources that go into holding a rally when you're not canvassing and when you're coming to the rally. These are the people who are already pretty much predisposed to voting for you. And then at a time when you need to pivot, your rally message is given the people who like the red meat, their daily dose of red meat, which is unfortunately at this moment the complete wrong tone for the moment. So now you got images of you feeding red meat to someone in the evening while trying to be prime ministerial during the day.
And let's
don't make sensey.
Let's not forget the posts I've seen online from a few different people who were at these factories or companies where they're manufacturers, whatever they're manufacturing is. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of that, but when he was in New Brunswick, he showed up at a place and had his props in the background, didn't meet a single one of them, didn't speak to any of them, didn't shake a single hand. You're just merely set dressing to him. And some people are beginning to realize this. They're like, I thought he was a real. I'm like, no, you don't matter to him. You never have.
He couldn't bother to call Doug Ford after he won.
Yeah.
What's he going to do for you?
He called Doug Ford, 2 months later?
After he needed
help for himself.
Yeah.
This is a self-centered narcissist man-child. He's a teenage boy in an adult male body. He has not grown one bit from the age of 15 when he was in high school. And again, like I said, I know people who went to high school with him. They said he's the same guy he's always been. He hasn't grown one bit.
This is what Arrested Development looks at 40-something.
Shit, that should be if you look up Arrested Development in a dictionary, it should have his photo underneath it.
Yeah.
And I'm being polite.
Yes. So now we move to Pierre Poilièvre Gaslight Hour. Kits and Cubs. Because once again, the leader of His Majesty's loyal opposition decided to be completely disrespectful to the Prime Minister of Canada in an attempt to preempt him by going first. He did that on campaign launch, and he's doing this on quote-unquote liberation / whatever day. The context here is that it's billed. Like, what's the title of the video, Mr. Grizzly?
Title of the video? Gaslight Hour.
No, the YouTube link.
YouTube. Pierre Poilièvre makes policy announcement in Kingston, April 3rd, 2025. What policy does he actually announce?
Well, okay. No, that's not the. Sorry, my bad. I misdirected you there. I need you to open. Is the Gaslight Hour thing the same thing as that one?
Yeah, it's the same clip.
Holy crap! Nothing copied and pasted. This is ridiculous.
Here's the thing. The clip you sent me is 36 minutes, and you've got stuff that are like at 39, 45, 59. Yep. I'm like, I don't have those.
The copy and literally throughout the whole document, even though I went and physically took each one and copied and pasted, it copied the same one over and over and over again. That's just
I don't know what to tell you. I don't know.
Apple, I'm still new here.
Yeah.
See, now I'm trying to copy and paste something, and it just opens Zoom.
Okay, so are you
actually trying to closed email and opens Zoom?
Just a sec here. When you're trying to copy paste, are you right clicking on your mouse?
I'm using like the actual buttons, the Control C and Control V.
Oh, don't do that.
It's the only thing that's working for me.
Well, you can also do. So here's the thing: you can go up to where is
No, I've tried that. It's not. It doesn't work half the time for me.
Okay, well,
unfortunately. But yeah.
You'll figure it out eventually. I'm not going to give you a lesson right now. We're trying to do a
Well,
show.
no, it's
It's
just
my fault.
It's Apple, right? I just have to try and figure it out.
And it does. There's a big learning curve, because when you've been worked in the Windows world for 30 plus years and now you're switching to Apple, it's a very different OS. Again, when it comes to streaming in this, like I for the money, I can't beat it. And this is with the M2 chip. Now the new ones with the M4 are even better, but not enough for me to justify the cost of a new machine. I looked at building basically a gaming rig to run it through Windows, because that's the world I've always worked in, and that would have cost me about $3,400 at the low end to build something that would work as well as this does for $800. So, you know, in the end, it's all about simplicity.
The tech is killing me today.
You know what I'm gonna? The only thing I can suggest is
Outlook won't open now, so that I can send you the link.
Oh.
It just won't open. All my show notes are gone.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
You gotta effing be kidding me.
Maybe when we're done, you can give Apple a call and say, "Here's my problem," and they should be able to help you out.
This is brand new.
I know. There's something being missed in the process of what you're trying to do, is all I'm saying, because it's all there. It all works. It's just you're missing something. And because you're not used to this OS or this interface, it's making it a little bit more challenging and difficult on you. But don't worry about it. We'll just keep rolling. We got stuff here. We got things to talk about. I can go on to the, do you want to migrate on to the housing announcement from the Prime Minister?
No, I really wouldn't, because I really want to get the Pierre things done. We're already at 46 minutes.
Yeah, but I don't have the long enough clip, so.
I know, but I'm trying to get it to you.
Oh, okay.
So if you have something that's not these things that if you would like to talk about for a second,
I can
that you had spotted,
that
would help with
great stuff. Here's something from his tariff response plan from the 2nd of April. I'll just show you this clip quickly, and once I can get it to, there we go, load properly. And here's, well, just have a look at this. This is his plan of, I don't think it's actually a plan, to be honest with you. Let's try this.
Your father, of course, was a great inspiration to all of us. He founded free trade between Canada and the U.S., and boy, I wish I could pick up the phone and seek his advice right now.
He's dead.
But I'm sure he'd be very proud of all Canadians, how they've rushed to the defense of our sovereignty.
He's dead, and he wouldn't take your call anyway.
And by the way, that's the video. That's the clip.
Oh, this is the one you were looking for? Oh,
yes,
okay.
And you started at the exact right spot.
I'm pretty fucking good. Brian Mulroney wouldn't take your call, Pierre Poilièvre. He was close to the former Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, because he knew that guy actually cared about human beings. Not saying that Mulroney was the most stand-up of guys, envelopes of cash, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're fallible human beings. And I had a conversation with somebody about that. Why did he accept an envelope full of cash? He was already rich. Anyway.
And our economy. Canadians feel angry and betrayed and anxious after the president's unprovoked attacks on our sovereignty. We're left wondering how we can end the paralyzing uncertainty and what the future holds. We don't know what today's tariff announcement will bring, how long they will last, or what they will do. But whatever President Trump does, a bunch of things remain undeniably true. 1, these tariffs are unjustified. 2, they will hurt people and businesses on both sides of the border. And 3, Canada will obviously never be the 51st state. But we need a plan going forward, a plan that is both strong and effective. And I want to break that down into 3 parts. Obviously, 1, we need an immediate response. 2, we need to tackle the dispute after the election, hopefully to bring it to an end. But 3, perhaps most important of all, We need a long-term plan to build our economic fortress in Canada so we are never vulnerable to these kinds of threats again.
Well, I'm using the outline from this morning instead of this afternoon because I had all
Yep.
the proper links on it.
Yeah. That's right. So again, just basically the how he opened, and again the bit that we showed this morning. We need a plan, and those are the three things. And it's like, okay, now,
He has concepts of a plan.
yes. So this is how he broaches the subject. Now, as we mentioned in a previous show, right, when we talked about his plan, when he put out his 7-point plan, he was doing all the 7 points. We noticed how each one of those points had actually been mentioned by somebody else somewhere along the way. So he's going to talk about his plan.
First, our immediate response must be targeted reciprocal tariffs, targeted narrowly at those American goods we don't need, can make ourselves, or buy elsewhere to maximize impact on the Americans while minimizing impact on ourselves.
I wonder where I heard that
Secondly,
before.
we must be prepared to protect jobs. Keeping Canadians working should be our top priority. And that's why we need to focus on maintaining the link. If a worker loses his job, it's much harder, longer, and actually more expensive for the government to try and get him back into employment than it is to try and keep him working in the interim period while this dispute is on. The Conservative government, if elected at the end of this month, will launch a Keeping Canadians Working Fund, a targeted temporary loan program for businesses that are directly hit, helping them keep workers on the job. Very similar to the type of program that John Baird initiated when we were in the Harper government during the great global recession, binding people to their jobs, keeping their paychecks going. Well, we can get...
I don't remember that. Do you?
I don't particularly remember that. I'm sure there might have been something, but I remember that during COVID, though.
Yeah, I do remember COVID. I'm not saying that it never happened. I don't recall that.
I don't recall them doing much for us during the 2008 crash.
They bought GM and sold them at a loss. I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that well. Okay, we'll continue here for a few more seconds.
Through this trade dispute will help keep the horizon bright and keep our economy stable.
Okay.
Okay. Now you will notice also in that section when you talk to, if someone loses his job, he will.
Not their job. Yeah. Because he wants women to stay home and be broodmares for the state.
So if you were listening to us this morning and many other shows, we need to impose tariffs that inflict maximum pain over there with minimum disruption over here. That's Mark Carney's line. The guy took Mark Carney's, like when you're writing an essay and you see a line that you like, but you're not allowed to say it the same way when you're in high school before you get to university and you know better. And then you just break out your thesaurus and say the same thing, but with more and better words. That's what he just did there.
I just want to ask you something here quickly, sir, because we've got a lot more to get through here, but I want to ask you, and we're running tight on time, but I want to ask you something quickly here. Does he, in this speech, talk about how we have the best vetting process? Look at these candidates we've eliminated because we vetted them. You have the worst vetting process. That shit, why are they candidates? If you had a good vetting process, they would never have been candidates to begin with.
Yes. I do in the previous thing that you were using, there is a question specifically about that we can get to as we close, if you would like, because
I'll dig it up, because I'm like, what? How? That is, if you had a good vetting process, they would not have been candidates to begin with.
Yes, he actually tries to sell his. Yeah,
the election's underway. We have the best vetting process. See, we got rid of these candidates. They shouldn't have been there to begin with. That is a good vetting process.
Yes. He literally tried to sell that exactly like that.
You know what? There were people who will snort that up. There are people who will snort that up. And I would say to those people, if they vetted them correctly, they never would have been there to begin with.
Mm-hmm. And there's two more now. There's a guy named Aaron Gunn, who apparently chiefs are asking for him to be removed because I
For
believe
damn good
residential
reason.
school denial. And there's a guy right here, Brian Patterson, who apparently was a youth pastor at a church that seems to have engaged in some conversion therapy. And even though he says he denounces it, whatnot, and as mayor established a fund to help people from victims of conversion therapy, word on the tweet is that some intrepid journalists might want to look at the dollar amounts and where they're going.
Mm-hmm.
Might want to, and see if there's any other reason than actually just wanting to help people who have been targeted by that.
Sorry, I know this is just off topic, but I had to put this on the screen from PNC Bio. The USA is now importing eggs from countries they have just put tariffs on. So in an attempt to lower the price of eggs, they're now going to fly them from overseas and pay an extra 25%. Oh my God.
Darwin, come collect.
Asteroid?
This way?
Jesus. Oh my God.
We are not dealing with the sharpest ice picks in the drawer. I know, it's discouraging. I know. I'm sending you strength, sir. I'm sending you strength.
It's not discouraging, it's exasperating.
Yes.
It's like, what?
That's probably more accurate.
How is this? What? Are you really?
Really?
I mean, seriously.
Yes.
Okay, well
okay.
We'll continue on.
18...
While he's speaking. Yeah, I got it. I'm queued up. I'm ready to go.
There
While
we go.
he's doing that,
okay.
I'm gonna grab another beer because I need one to get through this shit.
Prime Minister, I will propose to the President to accelerate renegotiations of CUSMA, bringing in a new deal on trade and security. CUSMA must be renegotiated anyway, next year.
No.
Why wait? Why not get it done now? Why not end the uncertainty that is paralyzing both sides of the border and that is also costing us jobs today? We should set a firm date to finalize a new deal. And I will propose that both countries pause tariffs while we hammer out that deal. Keeping destructive tariffs in place kills jobs on both sides of the border and so serves no purpose at all. It does not make sense to go on killing jobs, disrupting markets, and weakening both our economies with on-again, off-again tariffs for months on end as Canadian businesses and workers live in paralyzed terror. In the meantime, during negotiations, suspension of tariffs would have to go both ways. Either they take them off or we would not. We would require this to be fully reciprocal as we work towards getting a deal. And as for the deal itself, any good negotiator would tell you that he wouldn't put his cards on the table before sitting down to talk.
Yeah.
But Canadians do have a right to know what our red lines are.
What?
Again, where did we hear all of this before? Didn't Mark Carney just like turn around and say, supply management, culture, language, red lines, not discussed. We put them in a good negotiation. You say what your red lines are right off the bat, get them off the table. We're not going here. And then you said, where did we hear that?
From the current caretaker government Prime Minister, Mark Carney.
I'm going to propose that we don't have tariffs during this time. Oh, thank you. Like this, because people are living in terrorized fear or whatever. Terrorized fear. Really, paralyzed with terror. We're not paralyzed. No. We're mobilizing, man. We're not fearful. We're emboldened. We're pissed off. I don't know where he's talking about. People are concerned about their own livelihoods, but as a nation, we're not like that. And then we're going to sit down and negotiate a whole new agreement. Like, yeah, that's already been agreed to.
You
Actually,
ever seen the movie The Fifth Element?
yes.
We're sending in a negotiator.
I mean,
And Bruce Willis' character walks in and just
yeah, but wait, again, did some? This is the guy that said that went out and made a big deal of Mark Carney allegedly plagiarizing people for his doctoral. This entire speech is lifted, passed through a Chat GPT type thing, saying, "Say these same things but with other words,"
make it Mark
and
Carney
he's repeating them
with a couple extra words. Yeah.
Notice the slowness of his pace. Notice that he's in his lower register. We have to make the workers like. Notice he's not flapping his hands. Notice he's not pointing at things. Notice he's not going, we have to axe the tax.
Build the homes. Stop the crime.
But notice all of that is, when I said single white female, he's doing, listen, if you can't beat Mark Carney, be Mark Carney.
Yeah, well, like I said, do you notice? So that was April 2nd, that clip. And the clip we looked at earlier was from April 3rd. Today's April 4th. And I noticed that there's a little bit more gray in his hair here.
Yep.
The day after that.
Yes, they're deliberately doing that. Mark Carney went and got a haircut, spiff up, and he's doing reverse just for men. Yeah. He's doing a touch of gray.
It certainly seems like it. I'm not the only one who's noticed this either. I know you noticed. I noticed it immediately. I'm like, what's going on here? Other people have pointed this out to me. I go, did you see him?
But now
I go, yeah.
Yeah. But now he's not only taking Mark Carney's look, he's borrowing his affect and his actual lines.
Yeah. I saw a post earlier today from, like I said, somebody I've known for about 40 years. And on the post, he was talking about, so there's a 31-point list of the things that Pierre Poilièvre has done, and he countered all 31 of them. I couldn't read through it all because I'm like, oh man, you're missing the point of it all. The point of it all is this man doesn't give a shit about you. He doesn't care about you.
Doesn't care about people.
He's a narcissist. He's a smarmy, smug, know-it-all narcissist. This is who he's been his entire life. And for the umpteenth time, I would like to see a healthy, progressive, conservative party.
Oh, God, yes, please.
I really would, because it would be good for the country. Because the divisiveness. Thank you. Caused by this man. They like to say it was Prime Minister Trudeau who did it. I'm like, no. This was the divider in chief.
Yep.
This is the guy.
This is the guy.
This is the guy who has split families up. I know a few that don't talk to each other anymore because they believe in him. And I'm like, but he's lying to you. No, he's not. I go, but here's the lie.
He did in this answer.
Said. Here's the lie.
He did in this very answer.
Yeah.
He said, we have to renegotiate it in 2 years anyway. It's like, no, 2 years is just a review of what we renegotiated last time.
Yeah.
The real renegotiate, and then it's supposed to be in place for something like 12 or 15 years after that.
Yes.
It's not even up for renegotiate, just a review.
It's a review. Oh, this is a good one from Obsessive Audio. Instant asshole, just add podium. That was good. Although I put this up on the screen and I'm like, I might catch flack for this, but I thought it was funny. I'm trying to find from Tim McCaffrey. If that guy in Grindr doesn't reply to me, I'm not replying either. Cough, allegedly. I'm sorry, that was funny. It was funny. It was funny.
All right. Next one, Pierre promises something.
Oh, PNC Bio, this is a zinger. I would very much like to get back to a form of conservative where they only hate poor and disabled people, not every single person who is different than them.
Oh, and considering the source, that is fire.
Yes, sir. That is fire. Yeah.
Damn. Kid PNC. Whoa.
Sir.
I think I need to drink some
Actually,
water.
sir, I don't know if it's sir or ma'am. I don't know. I just, but cheers. I don't know.
I believe sir.
I think sir,
If
yes. Feel free to correct us. You know, we
I believe I do remember the first name, so which I will not say.
Okay, yeah, because I don't know the first name, but yeah,
Kid PNC. But yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I just want to get things right. That's all. I just like to do
Absolutely.
things right. Yeah.
Yes. So here, Pierre makes a promise. Writes a check his ass can't cash.
What red lines I will draw in order to protect our country in these inevitable negotiations that any future prime minister will have to have and have quickly. So let me be clear. First, I will protect our control over our border, our security, our resources, our farmers, including our supply-managed farmers, our fresh water, our automotive workers. Also, we will protect our sovereignty, our laws, our currency, our dollar, our land, our waters, our sky, our culture, our official languages, and our resources and Indigenous rights will not be under the control of any other country. This is non-negotiable. We will protect Canada's sovereignty in any negotiations.
He said Indigenous.
Our Indigenous rights.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
You're not Indigenous, sir.
He owns everything, right?
And then there's a lot of things in there that are, I mean, supply management, language, culture. Our air, our water, our this, our that. Like, you can't protect single-handedly the dollar. Our automotive workers. Oh, no. Really? You can help them deal with stuff. You can help them, but you can't protect. It's just, oh my God. I'm going to do more than Carney by able to do all these things. It's like, if you are defending your sovereignty, you are defending your land, your air, your border.
He just has to sound like he's smart. He comes from the Jordan Peterson school of the dumb guy, smart guy. Say a lot of words, make some of them big, so you sound like you know what you're talking about. I don't question that Jordan Peterson is a well-educated man. He's just not as smart as he likes to think he is.
Yeah.
And this guy loves JP.
Yeah. So now he's going to talk about defense. And you're going to, if you're paying attention, he's going to try to sell you a gimmick here.
Of course he is. Of course he is. That's what he's capable of.
Second, for years, the Americans have demanded we do more in defense. But the truth is, Canadians have been demanding exactly the same thing. And so I will commit that any extra revenue generated from expanded trade with the United States will go right into our armed forces. We will hit our...
Wait, I'm going to stop right there. Expanded trade into the United States? We're not doing that. We're subtracting trade with the United States and trading with Europe.
Mm-hmm. And where's
How
he
many
going
people
to
miss that?
And where's he going to invest all that money from expanded trade with the United States?
Well, this is the thing. There is no expansion of trade with the United States.
I know. So where is he going to invest all of that money? Yes. So where is he going to invest all of that no money?
Nowhere. That's a little bit of doublespeak for you, but it's like expanded trade. We're not expanding trade with
I know.
the United States.
Okay, I'm asking you to get out of the pedantic. I know you cannot invest no money nowhere, but where is he saying he's going to invest all of this money that we know is no money, but it says will exist?
Into the military.
So
zero spending. Zero spending is what it is. It sounds like he's saying something good. For somebody who's not paying attention, they might go, "Oh, well, that's good. We're going to beef up the military." Mm-hmm. No, you can't give them something you don't have.
Now, but let's even say that we did have expanded trade with the United States. Mm-hmm. He's going to put all of the money with expanded trade into the military.
All of it?
This guy has a thing with pre-committing us to stuff, like his tax cut that he announced as 15%, which is really 1.125% for the first 2 years and then 2.25% after that. But he's already pre-committing the Canadian budget to have an increase of that tax cut 2 years from now, or 3 years from now, I should say, without knowing what the financial conditions are going to be, considering that we're in a time of high instability and unpredictability. You don't want to make a 5-year commitment ahead here. Because if we have expanded trade with the United States, all of it's going to go to the military? Really?
Yeah.
Because we don't have any other needs? But so you're already taking the foreign aid budget to build that base in Iqaluit. Like this, and then you've got that tax cut, which is $7 billion a year for the first 2 years, and then $14 billion. But you took that from your counter tariff money that you now need another $8 billion. Like, again, when this guy comes up with this cost platform, if he does, because he promised one, it's going to be fun with numbers. None of it's going to make sense. Especially if he's keeping childcare, dental care, and pharmacare. If only keeping childcare and pharmacare, like not adding or expanding, and childcare, well, as the kids age out, not renewing it for other people. I mean, well, it's at least 5 or 6 years, right? Before it would get phased out.
This statement here from Tim McCaffrey: the military is a weird thing. Many soldiers think the Conservatives are better for them, even if spending less historically. Not just soldiers, but CF members, Canadian Forces members. Many of them think the Conservatives are better, except if you sit down and explain, as I have done with friends who are in the forces, and I go, well, historically, the Conservatives have cut you off. What are you talking about? Who bought the F-18? Well, that was Pierre Trudeau. Who developed the Avro Arrow? Well, that was Avro. And who funded it? Oh yeah, that was the Liberal government, wasn't it? And who was the minister? Yeah.
Who created shipyards so that we'd have a shipbuilding industry here then to start building?
Oh, the Liberal government. Right. The Conservatives will say something to make you think they're doing the right thing. But as my father will tell you, he fought tooth and nail to get the settlement he was deserved and owed. He fought it for years against Conservative government. The Liberals got in, and within 2 weeks, he had a check in his hand.
There you go. All right, let's keep going here.
2%. We will take back control of our Arctic waters from the Chinese and the Russians. We will rebuild our military.
When did we lose control of those waters to the Chinese and the Russians? How do we take back control of something we already have control over and nobody else does? Yes, Saucy Sea Witch, you are correct about that. It wasn't Chrétien that closed all the bases in the 90s, though. Chrétien did close bases in the 90s, but Brian Mulroney also closed bases in the 80s. Yep. I know, because that's why I moved around as much as I did. My father took a trade that would probably in a 30-year career have him move 3 times. We moved a lot more than that, and that was all political. Sorry, I just wanted to, I'm sorry. It's a passionate thing with me, is when it comes to who shut down vets' offices and who eliminated pension and who brought that all back. That was the Liberal Party. The Conservatives shut it down. The Liberal Party brought it back. Sorry, I'm going to back this up a little bit because we need to get back to it. And I got off topic. I'm sorry. It's just I get really passionate about that because my father was military. I'm a military kid. So
absolutely.
We do more in defense. The truth is, Canadians have been demanding exactly the same thing. And so I will commit that any extra revenue generated from expanded trade with the United States will go right into our armed forces. We will hit our 2%. We will take back control of our Arctic waters from the Chinese and the Russians. We will rebuild our military and will become a truly sovereign nation with a strong armed forces that can protect us. We will not do this to please President Trump. We will do it because it is right for Canada, especially in light of America's growing ambivalence towards NATO. It is important for Canada to step up and show its strength. Canada will carry its own weight. We will secure the North. We will put more boots on the ground, submarines and ships in the sea, and planes in the air. Americans will be able to sleep sound at night, knowing that we fully defend our North.
We already do
He
that.
believed in him.
Sorry. We already do that. We already do all of that. We already do all of that.
Allow us to improve NORAD, to deter, detect, and destroy incoming threats to our shared security.
I know.
We already do that. I mean, shit, didn't I just show a map of that the other day?
Indeed. All right. Are we
Shall
to the
continue?
yes, are we where are we in the time count?
24:20.
All right. So yes. Now we're going to watch him steal from Carney again.
Yeah, this is exactly what he's going to do too.
Yep.
Third, while we will agree to work with the Americans to secure our border on fentanyl and illegal migration, I'll also demand that they do their part to stop sending illegal guns across our border that kill our people.
Demand, eh?
Isn't he the gun guy though?
Cute. I know.
And the fentanyl.
He's not the illegal gun guy, right? He defends legal, law-abiding gun owners.
Well, and remember, as I said, was it yesterday, that the fentanyl, the 20 kilos, the 42 pounds of, or 44 pounds of fentanyl that was seized at our border was not actually seized at the border.
Mm-hmm.
It was seized 140 miles south of the border in the United States by a local police force with 2 Mexican guys who were trying to smuggle it to Canada. That came out just the other day. As it turns out, what was actually seized at the border is not even a kilo. It's such a minute amount. So it's like, this fentanyl, it's a distraction. It isn't real. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but the way they go, oh, where the, no. There's no metrics to back that up.
All right.
Now, how do we ensure that President Trump keeps his side of the bargain? How can we trust that he'll honor any new agreement when, let's be honest, he violated the last one, the one he negotiated? Well, that's the situation we're now in. We must make sure that the next deal has commitments that we make on defense, border cooperation, and market access that we can withdraw if and when he decides to break the deal and tariff us again. We will hold up our end of the bargain only as long as he holds up his. That is how we create the leverage to protect against a president suddenly changing his mind and breaking his word. Well, we can't control what the president does. You know, my father isn't a particularly religious man, but he did teach me the Serenity Prayer. God help me to accept the things I cannot change, change the things I can, and have the wisdom to know the difference. And
says the man who can't pivot.
And you know who else says that prayer? It's
AA.
Yeah.
We know that we can't control the decisions the president makes, but we know we can control the decisions we make about our own destiny here at home. The president will have a fork in the road. Either he'll continue to hold the threat of tariffs over our heads for the next 3.5 years, or we'll secure a deal that provides permanent relief to our economies now paralyzed by uncertainty. We don't know which way he'll go. So Canada must be prepared either way. A renewed trade deal with the Americans would be ideal, but it's not the entire solution to our economy. A credible plan to deal with Trump must prepare Canada for growth with or without reliable trade with the Americans.
So didn't he just wait a minute, hold on a second. Didn't he just? So a moment ago, he said expanded trade with the U.S. All that money will go to the military, and now he's saying there's not going to be any expanded trade.
But we can't control what Trump does. We can only control what we do. Or how we just, where did we hear that?
Where have I heard that before?
Several times. But you know, the time with the United States of deeper economic integration is over. We have to start looking elsewhere and for where did we hear that? We have to make deals with reliable partners. Like I'm saying, here's the thing, right? There's not a lot of ways you can go on this, and a lot of people, if you think about it and rub two brain cells together, you're pretty much going to come up with a similar type of plan on this. The problem with Pierre, right, is that every time he comes to his realization of what should be in his plan, it's about a week and a half to 2 weeks after everybody else has already said it. The time to me too is right when somebody says it for the first time. Yeah, that's good to me too. Not 2 weeks later after pretending it was never said for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's literally everything. Carney has been like down to the we can't control. Like this is not even an attempt.
No, it's not.
To change the words. It's pretty much word for word. We can only control what we do. We can't control others.
Obsessive
That's
audio.
literally Mark Carney's line since day one.
These aren't even concepts, let alone a plan. He's just stealing from everybody.
Oh, by the way, talking about stealing from everybody, he also recently announced that there would be no GST on car purchases or something. Another tax cut. Apparently, Jagmeet Singh suggested that a week ago. So he's stealing from Jagmeet now. Someday I'll be a real politician.
Oh. Skippy the Wonder Pigeon.
So, steals from Carney again. Then, hey, he waited 26 minutes before doing it, but then he goes into the return of Canada's abusive boyfriend. So, for 26 minutes, English, French, not 26 minutes because they had people speaking before him.
Right,
so,
right.
for about 13 minutes or so, he's been able to maintain this sort of dignified, poised, talking about things that Canadians actually care about.
Mm-hmm.
I guess a few times in this speech, he actually stopped and said some things in French in the middle rather than having all French at the beginning and some in English, trying to make some adjustments. Then, anyway, he goes into this whole thing again about how we're worthless and weak and all that kind of stuff. And then goes into that whole reverse psychology, Jedi mind thing trick that he's trying to do that, Trump really supports Carney. Because he said he might be easier with a liberal. Yeah, because he doesn't like you.
Yes, exactly.
But listen, even a blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then, and that Donald Trump doesn't like you is like, listen, in a way, a little surprising, but not shocking because nobody does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like when you've made yourself so unlikable, so, well, he doesn't like me, so you must really support. It's not the flex you think it is.
No, not at all.
If you were very much liked and had the average number of detractors, but the electorate is as polarized as it is because everything that emanates from you, what you give off, the stench, the odor, what we sense and feel and taste after you speak, your ick.
Yeah.
It's just so then he gets he tries to do something afterwards which might be a recommended move, but he just can't help himself with the smarm. So we don't have to listen to it, but just listen to a couple of seconds and look at the expression of his face. I think this is the happiest he was and the most animated he was the entire speech when he's talking about this. Now, remember, the mood is people are looking for leadership and who can stand up for Trump and who can build us up. Mr. Grizzly, if you will.
1 second, sir.
I found this one
Canadians
disturbing.
have to ask a question. Why is Donald Trump so supportive of Mark Carney? Why is Trump anointed Carney the winner of the next election? Do you think it's because Trump has Canada's best interest at heart when he says that he'd rather negotiate with a Liberal government? Or is he thinking about what he can get at Canada's expense? Here's what I think. Donald Trump knows that a fourth Liberal term under Mark Carney will make Canada even weaker and poorer than it was over the last decade, more dependent on American markets and vulnerable to his threats. He knows Mr. Carney is opposed to turning Canada into...
the look on his face when he started that segment.
Oh, yeah.
Head up, pompous, smug.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you this, and I'll tell you that, and I'll tell you this too.
Well,
Again,
I gave you an answer. You might not like the answer I gave. That's what it is. It's the smug, smarmy. I know better than you do.
the enemy is Trump.
Yeah. Well,
Look at your demeanor when you speak of Trump, the couple of seconds you do, and look at your demeanor when you speak of Carney. We see, taste, feel, can touch that. It's palpable. Like, this happened a couple of days ago. I'm not even in the same room. I'm watching it on screen, and I can feel it.
yeah.
It's gross.
Oh, yeah.
He just can't be on Team Canada. Then he continues talking, and he talks about like how he's going to, do these pre-cleared zones for all that, for trade and that type of stuff. You mean that thing that Carney and the first ministers all agreed they would do at their first meeting all together? He's just had the third, so 2.5 weeks ago. The preacher. Okay, another idea lifted from Carney. Then he goes into, how would I put it? Here's where we're going to see Pierre's brilliant skills as a negotiator. Because some people wrote to him, or wrote an op-ed or something, or public, and made certain demands. And this is how Pierre is going to respond to their demands. Now, in the United States, the CE Tech Bros, right? They're the ones with the big money who control a lot of stuff here. Mm-hmm. We don't have that big C Tech Bro. We have Shopify and a couple things. But us, it really is, the big oil and gas companies and those types of things, right?
Yes. Not so to say that this Shopify guys aren't cuddling up to him, because they are.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They are. But in Canada, it's the energy and resources companies. They're the ones like mining wood, like lumber. Like they're the ones that run stuff here like this, right? So let's see. They have demands. Let's see how Pierre negotiates.
Well,
and then transpose this to being in a room with Trump.
Is the 14 biggest energy and resource companies wrote a letter to all of the federal leaders. And they said there's 5 things we need if you want us to make Canada economically independent from the Americans. 5 specific asks. 1, you need to repeal the No New Pipelines Law, C-69, and the tanker ban so we can ship our oil overseas. My answer? Yes. 2, grant decisions on major projects within 6 months rather than 17 years. My answer? Yes. 3, scrap the energy cap that will limit the amount of oil and gas we can produce while allowing foreign polluting countries to have an unlimited dominance in markets. So scrap the energy cap? My answer? Yes. 4, they said we must axe the industrial carbon tax, which makes it impossible for us to compete with Americans who have no such tax. Axe the industrial carbon tax? My answer is yes. And give Indigenous loan guarantees to help First Nations take equity positions and profit from the projects that happen on their land? My answer, again, is yes. Yesterday in St. John's, I committed to all 5 of these things. Mr. Carney has said he will do none of them.
Okay. They wrote a letter. He's met with none of them. He has openly said yes to all of their demands. Now imagine him in a room with Trump. Come on.
Yeah.
And anybody who cares remotely about the environment who just heard that section is like probably in a corner in the fetal position right now. Wow. And this right here is why we need conflict of interest rules for leaders of all parties. Well, he's not the prime minister. He can't make this. Yeah, but while you're the leader of the opposition, you're having meetings with these people or making demands and you're saying yes to them.
Yeah.
And it's like, if he had stocks in any of these types of companies right now, that would be a pretty bad thing now, would it? Because he has not divested them into. I mean, I'm just. You're literally negotiating openly in public, and you capitulated to every demand after a letter with no meeting. Let's keep going.
Do we have to?
Yeah, on this one.
All right. I got to step away for a moment.
So what is his plan? A resume is not a plan. Nor is continuing with the same policies that got us into this mess in the first place. In fact,
it's going to steal from Carney again here, and I'll watch this.
In fact, he wants to put the Liberal policies on steroids. His housing plan, I don't know if you saw this earlier this week, he wants to create a government-run construction company that is going to make prefab tiny homes with no parking spots. This is his idea for housing. This is even more radical than the stuff that came from Stephen Guilbeault and Justin Trudeau over the last 10 years. This is not a serious plan to protect our economy and break our dependence. We need a serious nation-building plan to Trump-proof our economy. Mine will put Canada first. It is a plan for Canada that is richer and stronger than the one the Liberals left us. A plan to protect Canada from whatever choices, wrong choices, the President might make. So my message to President Trump is this: if you keep attacking our economy, over the next 4 years, under my Conservative government, Canada will become completely rebuilt as an economy that no longer is reliant on the Americans for everything. You will have lost your greatest trading partner and best friend. We will be a confident and strong country capable of standing on its own 2 feet, standing up to anybody that gets in our way, and moving forward to give our people back the Canadian promise.
Where did I hear this before, too? That's Carney again. Notice he got happy.
The only thing we can control is the things that we do at home. And the best way is to unleash our industry, cut taxes on our workers, bring zero capital gains taxes for our Canadian reinvestment, build more pipelines, LNG plants, power plants, data centers. That is the only way to actually stand up to the U.S. President. All these things I've talked about for the last 10 years, all these things Mark Carney has consistently opposed. All of these things are required to move forward. But we have to remember why we're doing these things. The point of these trade and resource and tax policies is not to win a debate in a faculty club or an economic seminar. What use is it to have a booming economy if our cities are unaffordable, unsafe, and increasingly unlivable? Some Liberal supporters and lobbyists have asked why I keep talking about the cost of living, housing, crime, and about the Liberal drug crisis instead of focusing exclusively on Donald Trump? My answer is this. The threat of the President's actions against Canada are serious, and I've proposed serious answers to those threats. But the struggles that Canadians are facing at home, the fear and the hurt that I hear everywhere across this land, those are real too. And I will not stop talking about these problems which predate Donald Trump and which will outlast Donald Trump if we do not act to fix them. Everyone is struggling with the cost of living. Young Canadians are stressed about never affording a home, bills they can't afford. Their parents worry that they might overdose, their children might overdose on fentanyl. And even those who are not afflicted.
I don't. Oh my God. Yes, every parent across this country is worried that their child may overdose on fentanyl.
With that scourge, wonder how they'll ever move out of their parents' basement and have kids. Millions of Canadians have been living for years in what I call lives of quiet desperation. Their stories rarely make the evening news. So yes, I will be out there every day, outlining my plan to protect Canada against American tariffs. But I will also unapologetically be out there talking about my plan to build more homes, get people off drugs and into recovery, fix the budget, keep inflation down, cap immigration so we never add more people than health care, jobs, and housing, get criminals off the street. We can do all of these things. We must do all of these things at the same time as we stand up to President Trump from a position of strength. Because that's what a prime minister does. Now, what the Liberals would like you to do is forget about all the damage they did over the last 10 years. They want you to forget the lost Liberal decade. They want you to forget that it's...
What in the hell is the lost Liberal decade? I mean, come on. What the hell is that?
Yep, that's his new slogan.
The lost Liberal decade. You mean the one that
newest branding?
The one that got us through the biggest crisis in our collective history? The one that got us pharmacare, dental care, $10 a day child care, the child tax credit, lifted how many drinking water bans across the country on reserves?
Well, that was stuff he did for people, so it's lost. Right? It has no value. Remember? Conservatives, they don't believe in that. But again, just the incredible amount of utter BS. This one. All right. He is going to give us a last little bit here at I think 4620, as talking about everybody else being dividing. Watch what he does here.
The same broken Liberal promises. We cannot afford a fourth Liberal term. We need a change to put Canada first. We will get that change. We will be a strong, self-reliant nation that takes care of its own and bows down before no country. Not a nation of tax collectors and toll masters, of bureaucrats and busybodies, of gatekeepers and grandees, of rulers and rule makers. No, we are a nation of explorers and entrepreneurs, artists and adventurers, workers and warriors, pioneers and patriots. Canada is much more than just not being American. It is about our shared values, our culture, our shared history, and the enduring promise that Canada made to each and every one of us. The promise that brought my wife here as a refugee from Venezuela. Why would she leave a beautiful tropical country to come to a place where it snows in the middle of April?
Tropical? I don't think Venezuela is definitely... I got to stop right now. I'm going to throw up if I listen to anymore.
So, Notice what Canada is a nation of and a nation of not.
Yeah.
Canada is a nation of all of those things. Bureaucrats and busybodies. We didn't get same-sex marriage by not having any busybodies around. Not a country rule makers, really, because you're trying to be a legislator. Legislators make rules, right? People call Elections Canada to come and monitor their elections all around the world because having a nation of rule makers is bad, has no value. He's not here for all of us. We need to come together. We need to unite. Now watch me look down my nose.
Yeah.
Really. At tax collectors and toll makers. Yeah, we need them. We need them. He was doing so well for 13 minutes. There was still bullshit, but he was doing so well on tone and trying to present himself as different.
He can't help himself. You know that.
Can't help himself. The 2 times he was happiest, he had the biggest smiles, he was most pleased with himself, he was sticking a knife into Kearney. Not tariffs, not Trump.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't speaking for any of the things he said he was going to do for you, of his big plan, which he didn't really get much into. He talked a lot, but we didn't hear much about his plan. I mean, if you compare and contrast with Kearney, where your eyes can start to water and maybe you'll get bored because there's so much detail and he's like teaching you, doing the education bit of like why this matters and all this. We need a plan. We need an immediate plan. We need a strong plan. We need a plan that's responsive.
Okay, and what would that be?
And the plan is, and we need to work with other countries and show we're not going to be reliant on the United States. Okay, and how do we do that? What's the plan for that? How do we do that? Well, we need to, again, and the plan is, it's not telling us what we need to do and tell me how it is you intend to do what we need to do. Never quite gets there, does he?
Oh, boy, I just got something I got to share with you.
Okay.
The S&P 500 is down 13.13% year to date, 770 points. The NASDAQ, 3,599.56 points. It's down 18.67% year to date.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Down 10% is correction. Down 20% is correction. Yeah, recession. Yeah.
Well, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 3,752.8 points. That's 8.85% year to date. It has been a precipitous drop. I'll just show you this quickly. Yee. This is scary. Look at that. Off a cliff.
These are the types. Look, what I'm saying. All I'm saying with regard to this is when you start, rich people don't like you fucking with their money. Number one, that's a lot of rich people's money being fucked with. But there's a lot of other people, anybody, anywhere around the world who has a pension.
Yeah.
You're getting screwed. This is the type of thing that causes revolts, revolutions, and vigilantism.
So, you know how we talked at the top of the show about men 55 and over are not finding work?
They're being disposed of.
Well, and with this, I'm fucked. Nobody's hiring right now. The only job I get sent jobs from the job bank, from the government of Canada, for things that I am grossly underqualified for. I'm like, why would you send me I'm not a programmer. Nowhere in my resume does it say that, or my work experience. I'm not bilingual. Why would you send me a job to be a translator? I can't do that. And then when I see jobs that I am qualified for, they want to pay me $20,000 less than I earned last year, which is $20,000 less than I earned in 2016.
Kid PNC Bio is saying here, it looks even worse if you do a 5-day or 1 month instead of a year to date.
Yes. Yeah.
Look at the clip. Wow. Damn. Okay. So that was the end of the main part of the speech. Again, compare and contrast. You listen to him, you listen to Mark Carney. Who do you want to give the keys to the nation? Now, Pierre, there's a reason he went first, because he got 1 day of decent press. Because, he showed a different side. He showed like this. I mean, a lot of people made the comments, well, he couldn't resist him at the end and all that kind of stuff. But again, if you were a conservative and all the campaign is going as terribly in the mainstream media as it is, this is a key opportunity to pivot. Clearly they saw it. Clearly they tried. Because he didn't do the whole thing in French first and then in English, and then he lifted a lot of Carney stuff. He, the full suit, not 75,000 flags, just a tasteful backdrop. I'm not sure, can't remember what's written on his podium here, but and we're going to do this like this and talk and like this. So every now and then, even broke out soft voice.
Yeah.
Because this was an attempt. This was makeover number 5. 1, 2, makeover number 5.
It's funny because it's true.
It didn't work. Let's go to the Q&A, because the biggest whopper is yet to come.
Okay, I just want to give you a heads up. I'm already late for something by 25 minutes. So by all means, we'll go to the Q&A, and I got to jump though. So Can you wrap things up?
Yep. The 3 Q&A bits are relatively short. So we can, and then I can wrap it up, and I can close off the show.
Okay, so we'll do these quickly then. Well, I'll just run them straight through. We won't break.
Yep,
We'll just
absolutely.
go straight through. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it looks like they're pretty much straight shots for the most part. Okay, all right, here we go. It helps if I actually, bring up I need to share. I find it works better when you do that.
Now you're so quiet all of a sudden. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve Chase, Globe and Mail. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to ask you about what efforts you're making to build your relationship with the Trump administration. If you're elected prime minister, you're going to need to talk to them and have good relationships. So can you please describe to us what preparatory work you've done, and have you enlisted Jamil Javani to talk to the Trump White House because of his relationship with J.D. Vance? And if not, why not?
Thank you very much. So I've been operating with the rule of one prime minister at a time. I'm
sorry, what?
There's no evidence of that whatsoever.
Jesus Christ. This fucking guy.
I disagree strongly with both Prime Ministers Trudeau and Carney. They occupy that office. And I've been very careful not to do anything to divide Canada's voice when communicating with.
Oh my God.
I told you the best was yet to come.
The executive branch of the United States government. And so that's why I have not contacted anyone in the U.S. executive administration. I'm doing my homework, and I built a plan. And that's the plan that I laid out here today. And that plan breaks down into 3 parts. One is to immediately retaliate with targeted tariffs against the Americans that will max.
Because then he just goes back into his regular stuff.
Shit he said before.
But here the reason I wanted to point this out, this key here, is remember that big meeting that the Prime Minister had, Prime Minister Trudeau, when he invited all the party leaders in and asked them to do whatever?
Right.
In that answer, he just confirmed he didn't lift a fucking finger to help anyone.
Of course he wouldn't. Of course he wouldn't.
And now he's trying to frame it as a virtue.
If it doesn't benefit him, he won't be bothered with it.
Yeah. And now he's trying to frame it as a virtue.
Oh, yeah. He's just like,
I respect the fact that there's one prime minister at a time. Dude, your entire last 2 years was being like I need to be prime minister now. Let's have an election now.
Yeah.
It's second question.
All right, here we go. Just give me a sec. I gotta catch my breath because I've been reading so much bullshit in the last 20 minutes.
I know.
Next question.
I know. I'm sorry to
Jacob
deliver so
Lawrence
much.
with Bloomberg News. You mentioned the Keeping Canadians Working program. Can you just give us a bit more detail on how much money you want to see go towards this? Who's going to qualify? Over how many years? That kind of thing?
Yes, it's a very good question. And the unfortunate answer right now is it depends. The smaller the tariffs, the smaller the fund. The bigger the tariffs, the bigger the fund. What we will do is use EDC, the Export Development Bank, the Export Development Corporation, and BDC. These are two lending bodies that already exist, and they have legal powers to lend to Canadian enterprises. We'll authorize them immediately to free up loans to businesses that have been directly hit by the tariffs. And the purpose of the loans will be to keep workers working. We did some.
I got to stop him right there for a second. You do realize it was EDC who helped draft the CEWS, the CERB, and the small business loans that kept people afloat.
Yep.
I have friends who worked on that department. You know, when the whole world shut down, they came to work and made sure they kept us whole. It's a good place.
So, in this answer, here's my thing. In normal times, this could be an okay answer. We just got through COVID.
Yeah.
Where we had this type of program. There are tons of businesses who are still trying to pay off those loans. We'll have another loan program for you. Maybe they need supports this time.
Yeah.
And your plan better be organized such that the supports are going to the smaller Buy Canadian type industries rather than the large ones. Now, the large ones, of course, employ a lot of people, and they'll probably need some help too, because, like as Flavio Volpe said, right, the margin on cars is like 6 or 7%, whatnot. Like this, if you pose a 25% tariff, well, there goes everything. I mean, you might as well pose 1,000. It's no big difference, right? At that point, the difference is immaterial. So, but it's another loan program for businesses who are probably paying off loans from the previous loan program.
Correct.
Not sure how helpful it's going to necessarily be.
What businesses will need would be grants.
They might. And that program is going to have to be much more tailored than the previous one, where we'll just let everybody take everything and then we'll fix it after, because the grants, grants you don't get repaid. So you want to make sure the money going out the door, if it's a grant, is actually going.
And you remember a few years ago when Loblaws received a grant for, I can't remember how many millions, to upgrade their freezers.
Yes, and people lost their minds.
And I wasn't happy about it, but I understood how it works. It's open to every business across the country. You apply. If you meet the criteria, congratulations, you get the money.
And it's not like...
I don't like that $1 billion corporation got it. I don't. But the government cannot pick and choose who gets the money. You either qualify or you don't. And if you qualify, you get the money. And that is how the government has to do it. Is it a nightmare for PR? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, for this, however, that program, one thing that must be noted is that the corporations that received had to pitch in money themselves. Right? It wasn't just, we're going to give you a grant and then you use that money. It's like, are you planning to do a certain thing? Yes, we'll give you this much towards it to encourage you to do it earlier than you would have done. Okay, we'll take that. So it wasn't, there was money that went, but it had to be matched to a certain extent, and you had to show that you had a plan and that you were planning to spend money on this. And I think it was to buy more energy efficient freezers and stuff like that for food. And when you think about it, grocery stores are open a long time, big freezers, lots of food, you know, add them all up. That's a lot of energy.
It's a ton of energy.
So, I mean, it's a good program, it has a good goal, but it wasn't all grant. You had to go out and match it. Well, not match, but you had to contribute something. And I think it was way more than the grants that you got.
Yes. Yeah,
okay. And now the final one, this is the one, Mr. Grizzly. Now, everybody, if you are drinking something or if you're holding something in your hand, you might want to put it down, because it's either going to be a spit take because you're going to laugh so hard, or you're going to want to throw something.
One or the other. You're going to have
okay.
Next question, Brian.
Yeah, Brian Lilly, Toronto Sun. I know you've made some comments about Mr. Carney taking some of your policies. Maybe you caught yesterday, parts of his speech started to sound like parts of yours.
Yeah.
For voters looking at this, though, they hear him talk about responding to tariffs. They hear you talk about responding to tariffs, about making sure the Canadian economy is resilient. Outside of Bill C-69, which you made clear yesterday, you would not repeal, and you made clear you would. Outside of that, how are voters supposed to look at both of you and say, okay, how are they different? Who has the best plan? Because often things are sounding similar based on how each of you are speaking. So what's the difference?
Well, sincerity, for one. Mr. Carney opposed all of these policies for 10 years as part of the Liberal government.
What?
Yeah, right.
I'm backing it up because what?
Similar based on how each of you are speaking. So what's the difference?
Well, sincerity.
How is he not getting struck down by a lightning bolt right now?
Right? I would have taken a step to the left or the right before saying that, just to make sure. Sincerity.
Do you know what that word means? You keep using that word. I do not think you know. What's that from the Princess Bride?
Yep.
You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
For one, Mr. Carney opposed all of these policies for 10 years as part of the Liberal government. I mean, look, he advised Trudeau to print money and run up huge deficits that drove inflation. He opposes pipelines.
Okay, he opposed all these policies, even the non-economic ones, for 10 full years, even though he was brought in as the advisor for the last 4, as an advisor, not the advisor, an advisor. And it's not, and again, advisor means you provide advice. It doesn't mean you say it and it gets done. But now it's 10 years of Carney and Trudeau, and Carney advised on all the policies.
Yeah.
As he's talking about sincerity.
This man lives in a fantasy world, doesn't he?
And run up huge deficits that drove inflation. He opposes...
Wait, I'm going to go back there for a sec because that one I thought was pretty funny. Listen to what pay attention to what he says here.
For one, Mr. Carney opposed all of these policies for 10 years as part of the Liberal government. I mean, look, he advised Trudeau to print money and run up huge deficits that drove inflation. He
advised Trudeau to print money and run huge deficits that... Okay, he was never part of the government. He was an advisor for a short time period.
And that's a Bank of Canada decision that the government has no bearing on.
The government doesn't print money. The Mint does.
And quantitative easing is done by the Bank of Canada. And
correct.
You have to think of the brassiness of the balls to make this claim, given that his opponent is a former governor of the Bank of Canada and would know. So, dude, I know you're lying. I held the damn job.
Yeah. I've actually done this. Are you trying to tell me how to do the job that you've never been within 100 meters of that I held for a number of years in 2 different countries?
Tell me you're trying to get through the nanosecond without telling me you're trying to get through the nanosecond.
How do people not see through this shit? Are they so blind in their hatred towards a Liberal government because they hated Trudeau so much because he made their lives better and cut the taxes on the middle class and actually lifted more people out of poverty than any government in history and kept 92% of the promises? But they really hate him for that. Look, I don't fucking get it, man.
I don't. Neither do I.
I don't get it.
It's like right there. Sincerity, dude.
The brass ring is without your ability to ever reach it because there's no sincerity in you.
Carney has opposed this for 10 years. For 10 years, Carney has opposed this. Listen, when trying to sell the point that you're more sincere, perhaps don't lie.
Yeah, that's pretty good advice. I'd say that's pretty good advice.
Oh, this guy
opposes pipelines and energy production here in Canada.
does not.
His policy on housing is...
When did he say any of
He
those?
does. See, opposes pipelines and the production of energy. That's all energy, right?
Yeah.
Not true. And he specifically said pre-approved energy corridors for both conventional and renewable energy, which is literally the opposite. He said he's going to maintain C69. Maintaining C69 doesn't mean that he's not open to negotiating on the regulations and on the implementation. There's so many lies in this answer, and he opens with sincerity, and there's not an ounce of sincerity in it. This was supposed to be the big pivot again.
What's the joke again? Why do girls love odd numbers? Because they can't even? Well, I can't even right now. I can't even. I can't. I'm incapable of it.
Yeah.
Is the same as Trudeau's, building up monstrous bureaucracies in Ottawa. His latest is a $35 billion government construction company, which is going to build prefab tiny homes with no...
As opposed to you going to the private sector, which maximizes profits. Those prefab tiny homes that you happen to live in one, sir, they call them strawberry boxes, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they do.
I grew up in them. PMQs, they're called on military bases. The same wartime housing that they built across the country is what I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
And this man wants to shit on it because he calls it a little shack.
Well, also, right, he's poo-pooing on building homes.
Isn't he the build the homes guy?
Modular homes.
He's the build the homes guy who just went to the modular homes place last week. And it goes together like Lego, right? But now he's shit.
Yeah, and he's saying that this is not a real plan. It's like, actually, it is a plan, right? Because I mentioned the other day, we need to build 350,000 more a year. He's planning for 500,000. You know, it's ambitious. But again, in a world just like the high-speed rail, if steel and lumber and whatnot is not going to the United States or all that, then we need to do something. Prefab modular homes uses a whole lot of our resources to build a lot of things. Again, he says we need a nation building. What is a more nation building project than building actual homes for the people who live in the nation?
This guy lives in a fantasy world, doesn't he? He's not that smart.
No.
Look, how many lies have we caught him in? How many times has he contradicted himself in this speech and acts? And again, he's from the Jordan Peterson School of Speech. Use a few big words, pepper it here and there. He knows how to deliver a speech, but he's not saying anything. I can train people how to speak for 60 minutes and say nothing. I can do it. Speak for 60 minutes and never say a damn thing of importance or worth or salt. And this guy wants to run the fucking country. Oh, we'll continue because I just...
Driveways. What could possibly go wrong?
Let's go back it up a bit here, sorry.
His policy on housing is the same as Trudeau's, building up monstrous bureaucracies in Ottawa. His latest is a $35 billion government construction company, which is going to build prefab tiny homes with no driveways. What could possibly go wrong? Building up housing bureaucracies in Ottawa has doubled housing costs during the lost Liberal decade. And giving Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney a fourth term will only make it worse. Then there's crime. Mark Carney supports the entire radical catch and release.
Justin Trudeau's getting a fourth term somehow?
I can never be in the same room with this man.
He's literally just slapping concepts together.
I'm telling you, I could never be in the same room with this man because I would be fucking full blue jacket guy screaming in his face. I would be screaming in his face, you fucking liar. Oh, dude. I got to jump.
Yep.
I'm
okay.
like, I get to, well,
Yep,
I'm late,
I hear you. Go.
but I'm also,
I hear you. I hear you. That's definitely enough.
it's enough. It's, I can't continue with this shit.
But you see why you had to see it?
Yeah.
And you see why it is he went first?
Well, and I saw the clip earlier, like the other day, and I'm just like, I can't deal with this right now, knowing full well that we would deal with it. So it's like, okay, I have to watch it now. I can watch it now. But when I'm, I'll see it, it'll pop up on my phone, and I'm like, 2 minutes in, no, I can't deal with it right now. I can deal with it when we're doing the show because we're doing it as a public service.
Right.
But I don't need to subject myself to that in my private time.
Yeah.
Because holy shit.
I know. It's bad. It's really bad. And again, just a total and complete failure of our media to not ask any type of follow-up on any of this, even if not on the same day, but the next day, saying, hey, yesterday you said this.
What legacy media is actually there?
I know, but like this, the last two events, apparently, according to the other show I listened to, he didn't let CBC ask a question.
Oh, wow.
Because they choose who gets to ask the question too, right? It's not just everybody, like, or the, so. All right, Mr. Grizzly, you can head out. I have one more thing to read in before I close off the show. And
okay. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in this afternoon and indulging us. We wanted to get through this, and we apologize for the earlier start that fell on its back. It was stuff. Technology, yes. It works pretty good 90% of the time.
But when it doesn't, it fucks up spectacularly.
Yes, and it's very upsetting. It's very upsetting. But I'm okay now. I've had a beer. Actually, this is my second beer, so I'm in a good headspace right now. I gotta go meet some people that I'm very late for, but that's okay. They're forgiving. They understand. I'll just say, guys, I was doing a show. They'll be like, oh, okay. Yeah. So anyway, folks, thanks again for indulging us this afternoon. We really do appreciate it. I do have to go. I got to meet some people and then take Lola out, and I'm out of town tomorrow, so I won't be back until Sunday. But you have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Grizzly, for helping me do this second part. That's a lot of hours in one day here. Speaking about PP's media issues here and the party's media issues, there's another article that came out that talks about it a little bit, and I wanted to read it in to the record here because it'll give you an idea. This is by Greg Locke at CanadianJournalist.ca. Petty Harbour, Newfoundland. So this is from the article is written April 2nd, and this is based on Pierre's stop there on April 1st. On a fish plant wharf in a small fishing village on the east coast of Newfoundland, a campaign stop by Conservative Party of Canada leader Pierre Poilièvre went mostly unnoticed in the blur of national election campaign news coverage. But it was eventful in that the Conservative Party's organization and attitude towards the news media was on full display. Party staffers ordered reporters and local residents around the point where tempers flared. So ordered them around to the point where tempers flared. The day started with Poilièvre landing in St. John's and giving a closed news conference in a nearby construction company warehouse. There were more reporters and staffers than the few candidates and employees they rounded up to act as backdrop for the cameras. They were late. Poilièvre gave a long, awkward, stumbling speech, first in French and repeated in English, and then they were running very late. When they arrived in Petty Harbour, a staffer they had hired had already pissed off a number of reporters who arrived early by telling them to sit in their cars until they were called. That didn't go over very well and set the tone for the next hour. The location was on a public wharf for the arrival, and then inside the local fishermen's co-op fish plant for the speech. When the staffers had the 6 young No Place for Hate protesters kicked off the wharf with threats, they ordered the media present inside the fish plant before Poilièvre's bus arrived. All declined the staffers' commands. The staff got very aggressive and insisted reporters do as they said, presumably so reporters could not photograph or record the arrival. It's obvious that Poilièvre's people only wanted the media to record the speech for TV, not get anything else and leave. Because when you record the arrival, there may be people protesting and saying that they don't like you. One local photographer met some old Petty Harbour friends who were looking on and was catching up with them when another Conservative Party staffer in a Conservative Party tour jacket and radio headpieces interrupted their private conversation and told the photographer to get inside the fish plant. The photographer replied firmly that the young man should mind his own business and go away. He took the hint and went down the wharf, organizing what seemed to be 30 people brought in for the event into a line to greet Poilièvre before he went inside to make his speech. The few bystanders who were not a part of that group were kept outside of this designated area. This was all before Poilièvre's bus arrived. So I guess they kept those people separated from the media so the media couldn't ask those 30 people questions, like, for example, are you paid to be here? The bus arrived and reporters were told to go stand on a doorstep 50 feet away. When they refused, a staffer attempted to block their way to the point he raised his arms and pushed one photographer back. He was about to grab the photographer when others intervened. One witness said it looked like he was about to throw the photographer on the ground. Besides the assault and aggression, what is happening here is a carefully contrived and controlled scene in a public space, stage managed for the party photographer and video crew to get content for their ad campaigns. They don't want any real media present to ask questions or record anything off script. This is also why the Conservative Party does not allow news media to travel with them on their planes or buses. They don't want to answer questions from journalists or have any photos or video made that they cannot control or manipulate. Note, the Liberal Party and the NDP do allow journalists to travel with them, and the news agencies pay their share of the expenses. Yes, all political parties do this, try to control the scene and the environment, but most are not physically aggressive or threatening. After many years of covering election campaigns in Canada, USA, and Europe, the Conservative Party of Canada is the most outwardly aggressive and uncivilized that I've witnessed. It's on par with Viktor Orban in Hungary and the Republican Party in the USA. This behavior by the Conservatives is not new for this election. In Canada, it started with Stephen Harper. I remember on this same wharf in the 2006 election campaign where Harper had a staffer threaten reporters with arrest when they were shut out of the local hall where Harper was giving a speech. Harper won that election, and it was the beginning of the Conservative Party's animosity towards the news media, especially the CBC, which was denied their questions at Poilièvre stops in St. John's and Petty Harbour, as I just mentioned. Outside a few seconds on local TV, Canadians will not see the spectacle from the wharf in Petty Harbour. Complaints will be filed, nothing will be done, all inside baseball, people will say. It is my wish that Canadians could see what reporters and photographers really see on a daily basis, the behind the scenes, the stuff that doesn't make it to the 2-minute hit on the national news of the carefully manipulated events and machinations of political operators. I wish they could see the ignorance and incivility of the people who work for the political parties. If they did, they might get a better idea of how a party leader, their party staff, and supporters act during an election. Because if they act like that when they need to make people like them, then we can easily predict how they will act if they are elected to power. What a politician says is meaningless, but how they act and run their shop says everything. And there you go. So yeah, things not great at all. And it does not sound like a party that is having a good time in any way, shape, or form. Again, when aggression starts to be the output, you know that what's brewing in the pot is already spilling over, I would say. Wow. I'll just take a, oh my word, Obsessive Audio says the Dow now down 2,265, down 5.59%. Wow. Just get Kit playing with JD here. This is the stuff I wanted to hear about. Thanks so much. We try to bring you as much as we can. That's why we show longer clips from the press conferences and all that kind of stuff, so that you can see the other stuff that's not in just the 2-minute hit. But thank you, Kits and Cubs, for letting us know here that you're getting that this is the type of stuff that you're looking for. It helps us a lot. Kit PNC Bio, the plan is working. The reporters at conservative events don't ask hard questions because they don't have a national news agency behind them. Exactly. That's an extremely good point. Well stated. Well stated. Let's see, what else do we have here from the kids here? Get saucy, invest in rural communities, and there are plenty of affordable, good-sized homes available for people to live in. That is true. Where we spend our investment dollars, if we were a little more generous in where it is we sprinkled them around, it might be easier to find people places to live. All right, kids and cubs, thank you so much for the comments. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you so much for joining us a second time today for a few hours. Those of you who were watching us this morning and are watching us live now. Like we said, we wanted to make sure that you had both the compare and contrast moment. Ideally, we would have loved to do both in the same show, but both speeches were rather long. And basically took us one show each to get through each. So I hope, having seen Mark Carney after he had all the meetings with everyone and actually prepared and had something concrete to say to us, versus the person who decided to go before the tariffs were actually announced so that he can try to set the tone and say that he has a plan, but never actually really describe it in any detail. And I hope that with the Q&As you saw afterwards, were in Mark Carney's Q&A, he was able to answer questions fulsomely. And in this one, well, you saw what you got. That might help you make a more informed decision as to who might be the best to handle this situation, and this best to be in a room with Donald Trump, especially when you see what Pierre Poilièvre's negotiation style here is. It's essentially roll over. If you're on my side, I roll over and give you what you want. Not encouraging. Okay, kids and cubs, thank you so much for joining us for the show today. We hope that you like listening to us. We like making this for you. I'm going to speed through because I got very little time on my phone here today. If you would like to support us, please do go to our pod page. That's podpage.com / the True North Eager Beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. And if you click on subscribe there, when we have it fresh off the bandwidth, we will directly to you. Pod page is sponsored. Oops, there goes the show. See you.